Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Vibe Show. Today with us, we have a very special guest and my good friend, all the way back from first year from Expert. Please welcome Ming Huang. How are you
I'm well, and thank you for asking. And yeah, things are just going as they are.
doing? Chronication treating you well?
It's been doing all right. It's been a bit hard, getting used to just waking up to same routine every day. Not much change, not much travel. Um, yeah, getting through it.
Yeah, that's good that things are good. So, this is a university series where we will be giving the future warriors of universities some crucial advice to get to know a little bit more about you. Tell us about your hobbies, what you do in your spare time.
For my hobbies, I do like reading, so I try to keep up with a few books a month through my
Cool.
list.
What do
I
you read?
also just as many classics I can get my hands on. I'm finishing Lord of the Rings. It's been taking a while. It's a long, big series. Um, yeah, good fantasy stuff. Really, there's really good moral character in it, so it's always a good read. And also other informational things, so articles, things like that. It's always good to read up on what's going on, even if it isn't a novel, just to keep up with things. In the news, for example, for sure, got to keep up.
So many things going on, like the explosion, right?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate what happened. It's unbelievable, but when you think of it, well, it is unbelievable until you find out what happened.
Well, our prayers go out to Beirut. Something, tell us, where do you come from?
So I was born in China. I migrated over here in about 2005, and yeah, I've been living in Canada ever since.
That's so cool. Do you
Yeah.
speak like Mandarin?
Yeah, I still do. Just Mandarin though. I can't. If you try talking to me in Cantonese, it won't work very well.
Hey man, so humble. Just Mandarin, you know? I can't even like formulate a word in Mandarin. It's a hard language, isn't it?
Oh yeah. There's for sure that like I I don't write much obviously right now nowadays, but um yeah, so that my skill for that definitely has gone down. It's hard to maintain.
Yeah, like the writing, it's all symbolic, eh? Like each and every single word kind of depicts a picture.
They can convey multiple pictures because sometimes there's little words within the big words, like in a single character, right? You can have a very simple character, or you can have a more complicated character made up of those simpler characters. So yeah, for sure. And the placements, all of that
That's amazing.
can
Well, maybe
make
you
it.
can teach me one day. If anybody wants to learn Mandarin, uh, this is the gentleman to hit up. Of course, he only takes bribes and gold bars, so he's too bad at
Gold bars, the gold standard's already gone. I think we need to use a new system. So
that. Well, Ming, tell us about what program you study and what year you're going into.
sure. So yeah, I'm in year 3, going to year 4 now. I'm studying psychology and biology as my two majors for my bachelor's of science.
So cool. Psychology. I heard it's just an amazing and ever-growing field.
Right. For sure. The times are changing, right? So there's been social structures of the past that have been affecting the present, and it continues to change. So there's always something new to look for, as people think differently as well and behave differently.
Yeah. Are you leaning more towards the bio or towards the psychology part?
The psychology is actually more interesting because looking at behavior it kind of puts your life into more of a perspective as well, and definitely lets you look at the world in a very different way than you would otherwise.
For sure. You probably become like a Sherlock Holmes of psychoanalysis, eh?
Well, maybe one day we can.
Maybe one day. Yeah, well, that day will come. If you can imagine it, then it's possible. And so, where do you want to take this all in the short and long term?
For the short term, I'm probably just going to be preparing for graduate school, because you do need more training for that. And then from there, I'll be looking into placements in either education or uh, psychology itself, going for something like a counselor or a practicing psychologist.
That's really respectable. Well, wherever you go, I'm sure that you'll be successful. Let the wind guide you through with your path, and may you only see success in your academics. Is there a specific field in psychology you want to pursue?
So, social psychology is very interesting. It ties with a lot of what I've been really looking at, right? How people behave, and especially in groups, right? That groups really affect how you behave. So that's really interesting. And given how interconnected the world is, it's more and more applicable as time goes on, as people think differently, groups move, right? Events cause shifts in how people are thinking, both how they think of themselves in terms of groups and groups of groups. Like there's a whole lot of literature on prejudice and racism and big issues like that, and those are something that can be looked at, examined in social psychology.
And what inspired you to pursue psychology and biology?
Well, biology is fascinating, right? To begin with, and it's a base for psychology as well. Like how life works, how populations evolve. It's very, very interesting to keep in mind. And also psychology analyzes behavior and looks at why we do things, right? And that's so. It's actually very interesting. There's more to it than just, yeah, I think this is why I do this. There's a lot more to that. There's subconscious influences. And I could go into a lot about that, but yeah, there's so many factors that could play into that, and that's so important to recognize, like things like the situation, how that can affect why you're doing things and what you're doing.
So, especially the behavior part fascinates you the most.
Yeah, for sure, behavior is fascinating. Like you think people are being unreasonable sometimes, but they actually aren't. Sometimes they really aren't. Like the craziest person you could think of could be thinking in a way that's perfectly fine for them, right? It's important to understand those perspectives, to understand where they're coming from as well, and to be able to empathize and see the other side.
I've read in the news that during a criminal conviction, a man was sentenced for, I believe, an attempted murder. And when the judge asked him, "Why did you do this?" he said, "It wasn't me. It was my brain." And everybody laughed it off. But then after some time, studies have been supporting this more and more, that maybe a person doesn't really have that control, that 100% control over their actions.
Certainly, emotions can get in the way of things, and the brain is very complex. In fact, there's a lot we still don't understand about the brain, even in its structure. So, and people develop their brains, right? Like how we develop our brain, we live through it. It's through lived experience, and those connections are very complex and very different for each individual. So it takes a lot to break it down and really understand it in terms of, right? And that's what makes it so interesting.
It's like the more we learn, the more we find out we'll never learn it completely, eh?
And that's a beauty of science, though, right? We can explore things that can have never been explored before, and try to try to poke at these hard questions about a thing. Sure, we may never know the full picture, but to know just a part of it, and even as much as we can, as much as we have found so far, it's really fascinating.
Once again, the best of luck with this field. For our future students of psychology, of university in general, what advice would you give to them?
So I would say just make sure you do your research on everything. Like know what you're doing, right? So get as much information as you can, really. That's the best way to, be prepared and also to continue to do well, right? because a lot of information, right? You learn as you go, and that's not as good as having trying to get the information beforehand, right? So if there's like a requirement you need to meet, like try to know what those requirements are, right? And try to go meet them with the knowledge of having that beforehand, so you plan ahead. It's really good to make sure to do that, and definitely for assignments, don't wait till the last day, right? Space it out. Do a little bit today. Do a little bit tomorrow. Do a little bit every day if you can.
Like I remember
Yeah,
some of the
definitely come up.
courses. Like if you procrastinate, that's like a trap, you know?
And also, if you start an assignment, start anything earlier, you'll have a better picture of how to really complete that. Whether it's an assignment, whether it's how your courses should be structured. Like if you look at it more rather than putting it off, you'll have a much better time in seeing the bigger picture of what you need to be doing and when.
Definitely. Well, guys, follow Ming's advice. Aim for the bigger picture. Do not procrastinate. Do your research into everything. And honestly, those are very great tips. Like, where were you when I needed advice in my first year? Man, I was so lost.
Yeah, I mean for sure. Like there will be some things that you'll encounter that are unavoidable, but to do as much as you can beforehand, to try to get as much knowledge as you can beforehand, it's it's works that out a lot easier. And there will be troubles going on, so don't be discouraged if anything goes wrong. There's always something else to go for, right? Something else that you can do to fix it. Even if you fail the course, like it's not the end of the world. Okay, there are options. There are channels to go through, right? You can say reapply for the course, do it again, repeat them. Just many options. It's not the end of the world.
Thank you, Ming, for all of the fantastic advice. I'm sure our audience will find them beneficial later on in their path of life. And for you, we wish only all the best. Keep on fighting, keep on changing the world for the better. Once more, guys, let's give it up for Ming.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Well, come again. Hello, everybody. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Please leave us a like, subscribe, and I really, really look forward to seeing you next time. Love you all, and take care.